Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Tapping in Part 3. I'm Lisa, and I will be going through the webinar with you tonight. Thank you for joining me, and hopefully tonight you can gain a better understanding of the market share in Australia for people with disability and impairment. Welcome, grab a cup of coffee, cup of tea, pen and paper, anything that you might need to take down notes. We're going through a lot of information tonight, so we're very happy to have you with us. First of all, I would just like to do an acknowledgement of country. 30 Foot Drop acknowledges the traditional owners of country throughout Australia and recognises their continuing connection to land, waters and the community. We pay our respects to the Indigenous people, their cultures and beliefs, to both elders past and present. 30 Foot Drop funding. 30 Foot Drop would like to acknowledge the Department of Communities Disability Services for funding this and many other initiatives. Without their support, such projects such as Two Wise Monkeys wouldn't see the light of day and would be much more poorer for it as a community. This workshop is part of a Realities and Advantages of an Access and Inclusion grant awarded to 30 Foot Drop as part of an Information, Linkages and Capacity Building grant for 2018 and 2019. Okay, let's go over some housekeeping on how this works in these webinars. Unfortunately, we don't have all the resources to go live on all of the platforms, so if you did have any questions live, as in answering questions on every platform, so if you did want to ask me a question, you will need to go to our website, which is the link just below this video, www.30footdrop.com.au/live. So you go in there, hit the live button, and there's a chat box where you can send any questions you like, whether it's to do with today's webinar, past webinars, any feedback you want to give. That's totally fine. So you just need to head to the link below this video. We'll be covering a lot of information in a short period of time, like I said before, and we just recommend that attendees try and minimise any distractions. I know in this current health crisis it's probably quite hard because you've got all your family at home, but yeah, we'll just do our best. I'm going to be taking this home with me next week, so that's going to be very interesting, trying to keep the kids out of the room. And also, if you talk about 30 Foot Drop in any social media platforms, could you please tag us in anything? We'd love to get our message out there, and the more we tag and share, the more we can get our message out there. We would really appreciate it. We'll be recording the session, so if you do miss any information or you want to go over anything that I've talked about tonight, you can rewind it once I've hit the end button. And there's also a lot of research you can go into more detail with on our website, our 30 Foot Drop website. So if you wanted to look at any of the reports or the stats or any other information, it's all available in our resource library on our website. As well, if you know anyone that you think might benefit from these webinars, please share this link with them, invite them to join a webinar. All of the webinars are live so that we can all interact with each other. And yeah, so far it's been amazing. So thank you everyone for your support. At the end of the webinar, we normally have a short survey. So we'd really love it if you guys could fill out the survey. So hit tapping in or survey part 3. There's only a few questions on there for you to answer. Let us know how we're going, what you thought about the webinar, and then press send. That's all there is to it. Okay, let's introduce the monkeys. I'm Lisa and I am one of your 2 wise monkeys. I am Hear No Evil. And so just by looking at me, you probably can't tell what I may suffer from. Through me, you'll realise that impairment or not, through me you will realise that you will hear no evil about impairment. My story is more hidden. At age 8, I was diagnosed with mild dyslexia. Teachers used to hit me on the head, read out my low marks, and yell at me in front of my classmates. Why don't you understand what's wrong with you? Making me feel completely dumb and unworthy, as it would any child. But despite these challenges growing up, it only made me more determined to succeed and prove these teachers wrong. I ended up doing good at school. I ended up following my dreams and working in the arts field. I have multiple diplomas in the arts field, which has taken me all around the world, to Europe, England, east coast of Australia. I've worked in lots of different galleries. I have museum grade qualifications to look after the top end artwork. I have a counselling diploma because I love to help people get through tough times, and I also do photography. So if you wanted to check that out, it's Lisa Hall Creative. So if you know anyone that may struggle or have some kind of learning disability, because there are a lot out there, there's lots of different tests you can get done to be tested, and I guess my message is to you guys that don't let school bring you down. If you're not doing amazing at maths or spelling, it's not important. Like, it's not the end of the world that you're not the best speller or the best mathematician, because you'll find your passion, and once you find that passion, you go with it and you let that take you where it's meant to take you. Nobody's perfect, and I guess once you find that passion, you'll feel so much better in yourself. So if you know someone, promote their interests, promote their hobbies, get them to focus on that instead of, I need to be amazing at maths or spelling. Yeah, you may need to pass school exams, but you don't need to be getting 80% to feel good about yourself. Just do your best. That's all you can do. Okay, so the other wise monkey is my boss Ben, and the director of this amazing company. He is see no evil. He has his own story. His is more of an obvious impairment. It's not hidden. He's in a wheelchair. So he started doing the Two Wise Monkeys webinars and workshops, as well as running 30-foot drop, which is all about him getting his message out there for people that don't understand the limitations on people with a disability or impairment. Once he'd had his accident, he was in a position he'd never been in before, and he realised that no one is listening and no one is providing, not many people are providing the services that he needs in life to get through. So our message is getting through to people about the changes that need to be made for people with disability and impairment. So let's get started. Isn't there supposed to be 3 wise monkeys? Who is speak no evil? Did you guess right? Yes, it's you. The aim of tonight's workshop is to turn you into a wise monkey. You'll begin on a journey of realising, impairment or not, we are all human and deserve to be treated and acknowledged the same way as anyone else. Such an important message. There is no reason why someone with a disability or impairment should be treated any differently to anyone else. And this is what we need to change. And this current health crisis is a perfect time to reevaluate everything we're doing as humans. Now is time to change. It's a perfect time to reflect on everything that needs to be changed. We're too stuck and set on social media. We're not interacting as much as we used to. We need to appreciate that interaction with each other, because now we were social isolating ourselves anyway through social media. Look at us now. We're completely isolated, and we're all, oh my goodness, we are all going to crave at the end of this human to human contact. And hopefully it means that a lot of us aren't going to be on our phones like we were, because we probably won't want to look at them by the time this is all over, because it's too much now. We want that human to human contact. And people with disability and impairment are going to be no different. So let's go over the outline and method for today's webinar. So how are we going to get you started on the path of a wise monkey? Well, there's a lot to learn about people with impairment and their potential impacts on your business. We're going to examine the size of the market segment and what people with impairment represent, explaining who they are and their potential customer base. Then we will examine the potential impacts they can have on your business, both the positives and the negatives. After all this good stuff, we'll finish off with an open forum where anyone can send any questions, we can talk about them, discuss them, but like I said before, you are more than welcome to send any questions that you might have along the way. So how are we going to cover this? What will our teaching method be? The answer is fun, open, honest discussion. We can't change things unless we be honest, and our webinars are all about being honest to be able to make these changes. You'll notice that there's very little written content on our slides, and that is because we want you to relax and interact with us as presenters. We also do these live as well, so it makes more sense for that. But we do like the fact that there's not too much complex information on the slides. It's not hard to keep up with. It's not death by PowerPoint. It makes it easy for all sorts of people with disability and impairments to follow. Whether you have a hearing impairment, a vision impairment, you can clearly see and keep up. That's our wish anyway. So let's go over the terminology and review that we here at Two Wise Monkeys follow. Lots of people get disability and impairment mixed up and think it's the same thing, whereas it's not. So let's just break that down. To reduce confusion and understanding, I want to review the terminology that we use during our sessions. And that is the difference between disability and impairment. An impairment is an injury, illness, or congenital condition that causes or is likely to cause a loss or difference of physiological and psychological function. In short, your impairment is your medical diagnosis. So my medical diagnosis is that I have mild dyslexia. A disability, on the other hand, is the loss or limitation of opportunities to take part in society on an equal level with others due to social and environmental barriers. And it is, as the word implies, something that makes you unable to access or participate in something. So if you have a mobility issue and you're wanting to go to a cafe and the only way to the cafe is a hill or some stairs, then you with a mobility issue are not able to access that service. So you guys as business owners need to think about that. You're losing those potential customers that may want to come in your door, but they can't because they can't access your business or service. So an example for me, someone with a learning disability, too much wording or complex information can make it hard for people with dyslexia or any other learning disability to understand, which makes it hard for us to get the right information that we need to use your service. This is especially important to remember because some impairments like mine are hidden. So potentially you have a lot of business that is not getting used because these people are not using your service because it's too complex or there's too much information. And it's important to remember because some people's impairments are hidden. So if you have a website that is too complex, or marketing or signage that's too complex, then you're potentially missing out on these sorts of people as well. Anyway, I hope that makes sense. Let's move over to access and inclusion. And this is quite often thought to be the same thing. Access refers to the removal or reduction of barriers, physical and attitudinal, to participate in activities and functions of a community. At its core, access focuses a lot on the physical world around us and is easily assessed with a checklist. So you can go around your business and check, is this accessible? No, it's not. Yes, it is. Whereas inclusion is more of a psychological state of being and is the process hereby every person, irrespective of their age, disability, gender, religion, sexual preference or nationality, who wishes to, can participate fully in all aspects of an activity or service in the same way as every other member in the community. Inclusion is making sure that everyone can take part and everyone feels emotionally included. If you've got a business or a service that staff members act differently towards someone with an impairment or disability, then that person with the impairment or disability is not going to feel that they are included. So you need to make sure that you and your staff make everyone feel included in your business, or they're not going to turn up. And it's just as simple as that. If you don't feel included, you don't want to be there. So, any questions? Send them over if you have any. Okay, next we will look at people with impairment, the untapped market share. Recognising the market. Okay. Women's sportswear. Here's a business idea. Ignore the potential market. That's what many sports and athletic related businesses did until they realised in the mid-1990s that they had been passing on a gold mine. Women. Yes, you know, half the population that people thought should just be playing with Barbie dolls or pushing prams. Well, in the 1990s, there was a turning point where the NBC's 1996 Summer Olympic Games coverage targeted women and sports much more than previously, and many more female-orientated sports advertisements, apparel and equipment lines emerged. So imagine that. Women would actually be interested in doing the same things as every other human, such as sport. Well, imagine. Many businesses, once again, could be also ignoring and missing other potential markets. So ask yourself, are you missing any potential markets, especially the ones that I'm talking about today? Consider, for example, a population that has clear, persistent needs that are not being adequately fulfilled. This population spans the world and is growing and includes very motivated customers. Since this population is currently being underserved and misunderstood by many businesses, many of these customers would be very grateful and loyal to your business if you met their needs. This population is estimated to have a disposable income Australia-wide of $54 million and growing. So much money. Also consider how margins are always tight and that finding a new and neglected population can always boost your business. So let's have a look at what this population is in the stats. Here is 100% of the Australian population. Ben assures me he's counted 100 men or people. Now, first up, these are approximately 5%. This is the 5% of Australians' population living with a severe or profound impairment or disability. These are people who require or have difficulty with mobility, communication, or self-care. Add to this 5% another 4% of the population who are the unpaid primary carers of these people with disability or impairment. You now have a minimum market share of 9%, and this population is potentially missing out on your products and services. Minimum share. So that's a fair share, and it doesn't even include the families and friends who also accompany this 9%. So it's not just the carers or the family members looking after the people with an impairment or disability, it's their friends, it's their other family members. They all might want to go on a holiday somewhere together, but they could find that the hotel or the restaurant or wherever they're going isn't inclusive, isn't accessible. So that's potentially 20 people that aren't going to go to your restaurant because it's not accessible for that 1 or 2 people that have a disability or an impairment. Hopefully that makes sense to everyone. Now, you may ask, if it is such a big market share, then surely aren't they already being served? Aren't there items and services events such as the Paralympic Games every 4 years for those that have disabilities? Yes, they have that, but there's more to this. There are some, but that's a bit like saying to women who wanted to play sports in the 1970s, yeah, but don't you have hopscotch? While some businesses do seem to understand the market of people with disabilities, but many companies do not, and that is why we are here to change this. Research. Deloitte and the Australian Human Rights Commission released a report in February 2017, called the Missing Out Report, the business case for customer diversity. And in it they presented their research findings about the missed opportunities that occur when businesses do not extend their values of fairness, equality and respect to the diverse customer bases. This research covered the diversity areas of gender equality, marriage equality, people with impairments and disability, age and cultural diversity, and practicing a noticeable faith. It is well worth reading and can be found in our digital library. So please, if you have time, which a lot of you do now, go and read that Missing Out report. It will shock you. Yeah, it's crazy. Now let's have a look at some of the impacts it has on people with impairment and some of the stats. These results focus on impairment when impairments aren't meeting the needs of the market. So let's head over to graph 1. Here's some of the findings that the Missing Out report has. As a customer, more people with impairment are finding that places often do not provide the products and services that they need. So that's 35% of people with an impairment not getting the products and services that they need. And 27% of people without an impairment also feel this way. So 35%, pretty terrible. I bet, who knew that? Now you do. Okay, graph 2. As a customer, over a quarter of people with an impairment or disability usually have a fear of rejection or embarrassment when interacting with businesses. That is a lot of scared customers. And do scared customers spend well? Somehow I don't think so. So, if they've got a fear of rejection or embarrassment, then we're not making our businesses inclusive, because you shouldn't feel this way. They've got enough to deal with than having to go into a shop and feeling rejected or discriminated against. Definitely something that we need to change. Okay, graph 3. As a customer over the last 12 months, I was often treated less favourably than other customers based on certain characteristics I hold. That's 1 in 3 people with an impairment treated this way by a company because of their disability or impairment. Awful. 38%. That is so high. So high. And graph 4. The last one shocked us the most. Getting discriminated against by one or more organisation. This is almost 30% of people that feel like they are being discriminated against by a company or business because of their impairment or disability. Once again, you're not going to spend money at these types of businesses if you're feeling rejected or discriminated against. So these stats show that there is definitely a market share that is not having their needs met. Next, let's have a look at who this market share is and who are the people behind the stats. And there's a picture of me and my family. Okay, people with impairment are just like everyone else. We have passions, we have loves, we have families, we purchase consumer goods like food, clothing, cars. We go to the movies, we go out for dinner, we go on holidays, we have hobbies. But for some sad reason, we're treated differently. There's no need for someone with a disability or impairment to be treated differently if you're out for dinner or you're gone to the movies. It's just not fair. In short, people with impairment are active contributors to the community and the economy. And as a result, we represent a market share to businesses and organisations. And because we are a market share, and we are also able to impact your organisation, and how we do that is up to you. Okay, let's have a look at the potential impacts. So, let's have a look at the potential impacts people with impairment can have on your business. These are only a minority in ethical consumerism. So let's look at only a minority. When it comes to minorities, people can often say it's only a minority. There isn't enough of them to make a difference. Well, the graphs before said otherwise. As discussed earlier, we can safely say that it is 9% of the population. What research has found is that people with an impairment are a decisive and influential minority. Let's have a closer look at these results and go back to the missing out report stats. Okay, ceasing transactions. Over the past 12 months, I have ceased a transaction because I have felt I was treated unfairly. As we know, purchasing power is in the hands of customers, and when people do not get what they want, either in product or service, they will cease a transaction. So that is 29% of people with an impairment ceasing and stopping a transaction because of the way they have been treated. In the missing out report, they examine this closely and add other factors such as respect and fairness. We'll go over that now. So, the results in this report show that 1 in 5 customers without an impairment will cease a transaction. This jumps to 1 in 3 for people with an impairment or disability when they are not treated with fairness and respect, showing that a negative experience is more likely to happen for these customers and drive them away. Also, people with impairment and disability will not only cease the transaction, they will also dissuade others from using your business. More than just walking away from the sale, a person with an impairment is twice as likely than the rest of the population to dissuade others from using your product or service. Twice as likely. So that's a bit scary. Basically, if your company is treating people with an impairment without respect or fairness, your business is already being affected. Negative effects. I've been asked in the past if supporting diversity in businesses can have the adverse effect. Can it drive other current customers away? The missing out report found that 12% of those people were negatively affected by the business's diversity reputation, but 58% of people were positively affected, and the other 30% weren't even worried about it. So yes, you may lose that 12% of people, but you will gain so much just by being more inclusive and accessible. This result is not just impairment specified, so it includes other minorities such as merit equality, people with impairment and older people. So, it shouldn't matter anyway. Everyone should be welcome and included, whether they have a disability or impairment whether they are older, whether they have a different sexual preference. Everyone deserves to be included in your business. Let's have a look at the key findings of what we have just gone over. To finish this section off, I want to read to you the relevant key findings. Customers with an impairment are 3 times more likely to avoid an organisation and twice as likely to dissuade others because of an organisation's negative diversity reputation. There's a good chance that if your business isn't accessible or inclusive, then you are already being impacted. We have covered the possible negative effects of the stats, but let's now have a look at the positive effects. What can happen if you follow these positive movements? So next we will talk about ethical consumerism. So what is ethical consumerism? Ethical consumerism is a form of political activism based on the ideas that purchasers and markets consume not only goods but also implicitly embrace the process used to produce them by choosing certain products over others or even to purchase them at all. So if you're looking for a product and you're not agreeing with their processes or the way that they are choosing to design or make these products, you're not going to choose them. So ethical consumerism is all about how you want to see these products made and those companies making those products fit what you want to see. So customers can choose and embrace or reject particular environmental and labour practices and make other valuable claims based on the ethical values that they hold. Exercising choice in this way creates incentives for producers to make production practices which conform with customers' values. Successful campaigns waged by ethical consumer movements have popularised dolphin-free tuna, foods that are free from GMOs, sweatshop-free clothing, fair trade coffee, cosmetic products free from animal testing, and conflict-free diamonds. So, you're not going to go and buy, if you don't agree with some of the ways that they mine for diamonds and you want a conflict-free diamond, you're not going to go out and buy one that's not. You're going to go and buy the one that you agree with and that goes with your morals and values. And this is all to do with the movement as well, with disability and impairment, finding that movement and that change. So now we will look at applying to impairment. So this is the last bit for tonight. So how can ethical consumerism be connected with people with an impairment? Who here has heard of the Quiet Hour program, which is run at Coles and Woolworths? Okay, this may not be running today or any time in the next couple of months because of the current health crisis, but this program is amazing and will be running again if it's not still. But it's called the Quiet Hour. And for those that haven't heard of it, let me explain. Some impairments make people hyper aware of their surroundings, making activities such as going to the supermarket very challenging. At Coles and Woolworths every Tuesday between 10:30 and 11:30 a.m, the store lighting is dimmed by 50%, the radios are switched off, register and scanners are turned down, the volumes are turned down to the lowest level, trolley collection is stopped, roll cages are removed from the shop floor, PA announcements are stopped except in an emergency, and free fruit is offered at customer service, as well as additional customer service available to help and support customers. So this is an amazing initiative that both Woolworths and Coles have taken on board and makes a great difference to many people out there with disabilities, impairments, mental health, anxiety, depression. It has also increased the ethical reputation of both businesses. If you research on the internet, you will see that it's posted all over Australia. And how do you think this has affected customers? It's definitely not a negative, it's definitely a positive. And just having that available for people with disability impairment or anxiety, where they get anxiety, where they don't like being around too many people all at once, or it's too loud or it's too noisy. It's an amazing thing for people to know, and if you didn't know about it, then have a look at it. It's just been so great for so many people, and these sorts of movements we want to see done more. Okay, so this obviously may not be happening now, but another thing that Coles and Woolworths have done, which is similar, is opening the doors between 7 a.m. and 8 a.m. for the older people trying to get the supplies and goods that they need from the supermarkets, because they are missing out on getting what they need from the supermarket because everyone's panic buying. So this is a great movement, and it should be like that normally. It should be, the older people should be able to go at a certain time, and it should be a nice, quiet, friendly environment. Anyway, that is it for Tapping In Part 3. I hope you enjoyed it tonight and you understood everything that I have spoken about. If you do have any questions, I'm going to hit the question button now so you can send me any questions. But if you do have to go and have some dinner or go and put your children to bed, that's fine. But before you go, please head over to the link below this video and fill out the survey. That'd be much appreciated. But for now, I'm going to hit the questions button and be back in 5 minutes to see if anyone's asked any questions. But if you do have to go, stay safe, stay well, and look after each other. Thanks very much. I will see the rest of you soon. Welcome back, guys. So tonight there doesn't appear to be any questions, which is totally fine. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope to see you in the next webinar, part 4, which I will be doing next Tuesday at home. Take care of each other, check on your neighbours, check on your friends, especially the people that are on their own, because this isolation is not going to be doing anyone's minds any favours. If you are feeling down, please reach out to friends, or there's lots and lots of helplines that you can reach out to. We're all in this together, and we all are feeling it, and it's only just beginning. So please try and think positive and reach out if you need help. Check on each other. Okay, take care everyone. See you soon.